Welcome to the Space Invaders project presentation. My name is Tito Oyewole.
And I'm Brice Minix.
Our project is a version of the well-known retro arcade game Space Invaders that was developed by Tomohiro Nishikado for Tito in 1978. During our research process, we discovered a basic version of the Mbed Space Invaders that was already implemented by Michael Sun. So we decided to improve upon his version of the game rather than starting from scratch. Our presentation will give a brief outlook on how we transformed the game in the picture on the left to the game in the picture on the right. Here are the parts we used in recreating the game. The Class D audio amplifier drives the speaker, which plays sounds and music at different game states. So, for example, the speaker plays the game over music and the game menu music. The joystick and the IMU are used to navigate the game menu and to move the player icon. Clicking on the joystick will also change the color of the player icon. The RGB LED provides the lighting effect that corresponds to different states of the game. The ULCD screen displays the animation of the game and other important text. The push button is used to make selections on the menu screen and also to fire missiles at the enemy sprites. The potentiometer is wired to the audio amplifier and controls the volume of the speaker. The music files and the highest score text file are stored in an SD card, which is inserted into the card reader and connected to the Mbed, and finally the Mbed microcontroller.
Now we're going to talk about some of the features that we implemented to improve upon Michael Sun's version of the Space Invaders game. First off, we improved the game screen by making better looking enemy and player sprites that are more consistent with the original game by using the microLCD.blit function instead of the filled rectangle function that was originally used for square sprites that appeared just as squares. We also implemented barriers that were damaged as enemy or player missiles hit them, causing an 11 by 6 rectangle of black squares to be produced as the barrier gets damaged, and the player would be able to hide behind these barriers until they become damaged and missiles could go through them. We also improved the menu screen by adding 3 different options that correspond to different levels, which are different difficulties. Level 1 is an easy difficulty, which includes 4 barriers, 3 lives, and also slow enemy missiles. Level 2 is a medium difficulty, where the player has 2 lives, the missiles move faster, and there are only 2 barriers. And level 3 is a hard difficulty, where the missiles move very fast, the player only has 1 life, and there is only 1 barrier. We also implemented a high score so that the high score will be read off of the SD card and displayed on the micro LCD once the game begins, and we can also move the cursor in between these 3 options on the menu. So we also made it where when the player wins the game by defeating all the enemies, by shooting the missiles, by pressing the push button, then they will have a message that says new high score, and then it will display the score that they achieved on the winning screen. And the score was based off of a calculation that included the number of enemies defeated, the time since the game began, which was done with a timer, and also based off of the difficulty that the player is playing. We also replaced the 5-way tactile switch with a joystick and IMU accelerometer so the player could fluidly move the player left and right and move the cursor of the menu up and down. We also have an RGB LED that displayed lighting effects that corresponded with the sound effects with different states of the game, including the game startup screen, the game over, deaths, etc. And originally we wanted to develop a 2-player Space Invaders game where we would have 2 of each components, for example, 2 embeds, 2 screens, etc. And the 2 embeds would communicate with each other over the serial port in order to determine who won the game. And we were able to create these primitives in our setup so that the 2 players could communicate with each other, but we didn't really have time to test this and thoroughly release it for our project. So we decided to comment these out in our code, but they are there for future improvement. Also, we could improve the animation and sound quality of the game, along with making more involved skins that were more than just changing the color of the player with joystick clicks. Thank you for listening to our presentation.